So you're an ambitious person. You have big dreams, you want to succeed, and eventually have the life you've always imagined in your mind. But there's a problem. You're lazy. You know exactly what you need to do, but you don't do it. This creates a sense of guilt because deep down, you know you're capable of doing much more. This guilt builds day by day, week by week, and month by month until it turns into acceptance. Then the new year arrives with the same goals as last year. You start with motivation and a bit of strong delusion, but before you know it, procrastination quietly sneaks into your life, just like that relative who always shows up unannounced. This ongoing procrastination turns into a daily cycle of laziness. Before you realize it, you label yourself as a lazy person. So how can we break this cycle and get rid of procrastination? There are plenty of videos on the internet, but most of them only look at the symptoms, like deleting social media or removing distractions. Sure, these might help in the short term, but they don't address the real problem, the root of procrastination. This root can be summed up in one word: inertia. In physics, inertia is the tendency of objects at rest to stay at rest, and objects in motion to stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. This is Newton's first law, and just as it applies to objects, it applies to our tasks as well. Starting any task, no matter how small, requires an initial push and a certain amount of energy to overcome the state of rest, inertia. And this is exactly where the problem lies. We make this initial push feel so big and difficult in our minds that instead of doing the task, we run away from it and distract ourselves with low-value activities that release dopamine. So, to defeat procrastination, we have to break inertia. And there are two ways to do this. Start. The hardest part of any task is starting, so make that step as easy as possible by reducing the pressure and taking the smallest step you can. For example, if you tell yourself you have to sit down and finish your 5,000-word essay, the inertia is very strong because the pressure is high. But instead, if you tell yourself you're only going to write 50 words, the inertia is much lower. Starting becomes much easier and doesn't rely on willpower or discipline. There's another popular technique called the 2-minute rule. If you don't feel like doing something, just tell yourself you'll do it for 2 minutes, and then you can stop if you want. For example, if you don't feel like cleaning your room, play a song and clean your room only while the song plays. Then stop when it ends. The good thing is that you'll usually keep going for more than 2 minutes, or you'll end up writing more than 50 words, because objects in motion stay in motion. Once we start, we gain momentum, and that momentum pushes us forward for a longer time. At first, it's like pushing a ball uphill. But once you pass the point of inertia, it becomes downhill from there. That's why the initial push needs to be small and easy. In other words, lower the pressure and just start with 2 minutes. You can apply these two methods to any area of your life to overcome procrastination. Going to the gym, working on your personal project, maintaining your relationships, or anything else you can think of. As Martin Luther King once said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step.